then use that area just like a seat. By the right to let your feet dangle over the side, down towards the back. So back down's going to get you a lot closer to what we'll be viewing down here. It's also going to make it possible for anyone kneeling on the blue bench seats behind you to see right over your shoulder.
Not deep.
We don't have a huge group, but we do want to make sure everybody's comfortable. So if you are in that carpeted area, please use it like a seat. If you're on the blue bench seats, again, kneel on those. Don't swing your legs through. That prevents somebody from sitting in that carpeted area. Please don't clutter up the area with backpacks, purses, shopping bags, things like that. Again, we just want to make sure everybody has a good spot to be there. Now we do have some beautiful conditions for you out here today to enhance your viewing of our ecosystem. You happen to have the best narrator in the business, and that is Christina. She's extremely knowledgeable about the ecosystem, and she's more than happy to share that knowledge with you. If at any time you have a question for Christina, feel free to get her attention and ask away. Keep in mind though, this is a narrated tour, so any comments or questions you might have for your family or friends, we do ask that those be done in a very low volume. And cell phones. This would be a good time to go ahead and turn those guys off. Or at least turn them to silent. In fact, all electronics should be on silent, as everybody's going to want to hear what Christina has to say. So if you do feel the need to have a cell phone conversation out here in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, that is fine. We just require this to be taken outside. Speaking of outside, if at any point you want to get back outside, get some fresh air, you're more than welcome to do that. You're not required to stay inside the main cabin. We do ask though that if you move yourself in or out of the main cabin, please close and latch the doors behind you. And also keep in mind this is a National Marine Sanctuary, so absolutely nothing should go over the sides of the boat. Christina, we're all set up, so whenever you're ready, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Captain Carey. Hi everyone, thanks for coming out. How was the boat ride out? Good? Yeah, did anybody see anything cool on the way out? Any dolphins? Any sea turtles? Jellyfish? Yeah. Well, maybe we'll see some dolphins or some sea turtles on our way back in. I want to remind you guys that most people do well on the way out, on the boat ride out. Now that we're sitting still and you find yourself looking down at the glass, it can sometimes cause you to get a little seasickness. So the first thing we recommend is stop looking down. You want to stare out the windows and look at the horizon. And try and focus on that for a little bit, and that should help settle your stomach. If it doesn't, you can head on back to the snack bar. You've got David and Keith back there, and they have a few tricks up their sleeves. Now, did anyone drive down here to Key West? Just a few people drove down. Do you know how many bridges you went over? 45 and 70, that's what I heard. The 45 is really close. It was actually 42 bridges. One of the funniest answers we get is all of them. So you guys drove down 42 bridges and brought yourself 110 miles from the mainland to the small island of Key West. Now, Key West is only 4 miles long by 2 miles wide. We just brought you another 6 miles out into the Atlantic Ocean. You guys are actually almost 120 miles out into the Atlantic Ocean. If we were to go another 84 miles south, where would we be? Cuba. That is correct. Now, we are not going to go to Cuba today. We do not have permission to go there, and that would extend our boat ride by several more hours. Now, the Key West Reef in total is 238 miles long, and that runs from Key Biscayne all the way out to Dry Tortugas that David mentioned earlier. And we brought you out to a part called Eastern Dry Rocks. Now, the Eastern Dry Rocks actually gets their name because a long time ago when sailors came here, it looked like rocks sticking up out of the water. Even though we are 120 miles out into the Atlantic Ocean, it is not very deep here, as you guys can see. Now, the Florida Reef Tract consists of 6 8,000 individual reefs, and they're about 5,000 to 7,000 years old. Now, the Florida Reef is the third largest living coral reef in the world and the only living coral reef here in the United States. I guess most of you probably know where the largest coral reef is. No one? Australia, there we go. That's the Great Barrier Reef. Now that one is 6 times the size of our reef. It is almost over 1,400 miles long. That reef is so large that astronauts can see it from space. Does anybody happen to know where the second largest coral reef is?
Hawaii.
Hawaii, that's a really good guess. This one is actually the Mesoamerican or the Great Mayan Reef, and it is just off of Belize and Honduras. That one's 625 miles long and goes as far north as the Yucatan Peninsula. Now, if you were to take all of the coral reefs in the entire world and put them together, they only make up 1% of the ocean. But they contain 25% of all sea life throughout some point of their life. Now, we get usually about 2 questions on our way out. I'm sure a lot of you guys noticed the buoys that were out there, and they were wondering what they were. Those are lobster traps. It is lobster season here, and most of you noticed Duval Street is closed down today for the Lobster Festival. So if you get a chance, definitely walk down there and you can try a bunch of different types. The other question that we get is for that right off of the bow of the boat, the big tall metal structure. A lot of people ask us if that has to do with the oiling industry. Well, we are in a reef sanctuary that is protected. If they're oiling out here, somebody's going to be in a lot of trouble. But that is actually the Sand Key Lighthouse. Now, the first Sand Key Lighthouse was built in 1827, and they built it like a traditional lighthouse. Bricks, even a keeper's lighthouse quarters as well. Well, that traditional lighthouse only lasted 19 years before it was destroyed by wind and waves from the hurricanes. They rebuilt this new lighthouse with those metal steel structure and the open through it and completed that construction in 1853. That lighthouse has stood there for 170 years. Now, unfortunately, it is no longer used for navigational purposes. With today's technology, it is not needed. But in 1853, it was the first lighthouse to use a hydraulic lamp system, which is just a gravity-based system with a reservoir above and below the lens. In 1938, it became an automatic light. In 2015, they decommissioned the last light in there, and that sold at auction a couple years ago for $83,000. Now, as we mentioned, we brought you out here to the eastern dry rocks, and it does get very shallow here. At low tide, sometimes it's only 3 to 4 feet, but currently we're in about 12 to 20 feet of water. Where we came from Key West, that tiny little island back there, that was the deepest part of our trip. And the harbor was about 40 feet deep. Now the glass that you guys are looking through, look at all those yellowtail snappers. They like to follow the boat around, and I'm going to talk more about them here in just a little bit. But the glass that you guys are looking through goes 3 feet into the water. It is not tinted. So all those colors you're seeing are the actual colors of the ocean, the fish and the coral themselves. The glass is 1 1/4 inch thick. And I like to remind you guys that water is 800 times more dense than our atmosphere. So everything that you're seeing down there actually looks 25% bigger than it really is. So if any of you guys have that fisherman friend that was telling you about that one time he was out on his boat and he was about to catch this really, really big fish, but then it got away at the last moment. Well, I hate to break it to you, but that fish probably wasn't as big as they thought it was. Now I want to talk to you guys about the stars of the show. And it is not the fish. It is actually all of the coral down there that makes up this reef. Now we have soft coral down there and hard coral. So some of the soft coral are going to be the ones that are waving back and forth. You can see some of them right here. Those big long ones that are kind of that purplish color. Well, those are called sea fans. And then the other ones that kind of stick out really long, like rods that wave back and forth, those ones are called sea fingers. Now some of the hard coral that's down there that you guys will see, one of them is going to be the mustard hill coral. Now funny enough, a lot of the names for these things down here are names that are for exactly how they look or how they might make you feel. So the mustard hill coral kind of looks like someone took a bottle of mustard and just squirted it in a glob. You also have the brain coral down there, which is one of my favorite. It's quite beautiful, and it's got the same lines and crevices and design as the human brain, and can come in a bunch of different colors. I'll tell you how they get their colors here in a little bit. One of the corals down there that you do not want to get close to is going to be fire coral. Now fire coral is really interesting because it doesn't get its name by how it looks, but it gets its name by how it makes you feel. So fire coral kind of looks like broken plates that come up off of the reef there, and it's kind of a burnt-ish color, burnt-ish amber, burnt-ish brown, and it's got a white edge. Now you guys are here in Key West now, and let's just say you guys decide to go out and go snorkeling, and you just so happen to brush up against a piece of this fire coral. Well, that fire coral is going to make your skin blister and burn. And there is nothing you can do about it. There are no creams, no lotions, no medicine. It is just going to hurt. And depending on your reaction to it, it could go away in a few days, or it could take a few weeks. So you could carry that pain back home with you. So let's say 4 or 5 years go down the road, and you guys decide to come back to Key West, we hope, and you decide to give snorkeling a try one more time. If you just happen to be so unlucky that you brush up against that fire coral one more time, well, guess what? That spot's gonna blister and burn, but so is the first spot from when you touch the fire coral. It's gonna come back too.
Wow.
They're both gonna burn and hurt. I guess that's kind of Mother's nature of reminding us not to touch the coral.
You didn't learn the first time.
Now the other thing about the coral is they look like rocks, they look like plants, but oddly enough, they are living marine animals. If you were to look at them underneath a microscope, you would see hundreds or thousands of these little coral polyps that make up the reef, or make up the coral themselves. Now those coral polyps, they're about no larger than the head of a matchstick, and they're translucent and clear, kind of like a jellyfish. And they look like a tube, and then they have a slit at the end, which is their mouths. And they also have all these tentacles that come out from their exoskeleton to help them collect food. Now, the tentacles that come out, one of the things that they like to collect is zooplankton. But that zooplankton only gives them about 10% of the food that they need to survive. The rest that they get is from something called zooxanthellae, and it is an algae. Now that algae is really important to the coral and to the system down there because that supplies them with glucose